Hello there, friendly neighbors, and welcome back to our channel! Water fountains. More like, what are fountains? As in, what are you on about with fountains? Kenya. I've used a water fountain with my ferrets for the last couple years now, and I think that they are fantastic. So, today I wanted to talk a little bit about water fountains with ferrets, because my water fountain broke and I had to buy a new one anyway. And that, my friends, is called multitasking. So for anyone who is unfamiliar with the concept of water fountains for pets, they are basically just like water dishes, except they're fountains. Yeah, that's basically what they are. You can buy them pretty much at any pet store or online. I'm sure you've probably seen them somewhere, even if you aren't super sure what the point of them is. So let's figure out what the point of them is really quickly here. Water fountains are an amazing way to promote your ferrets and other pets to drink more water. I notice a big difference in the amount of water my ferrets drink between their water fountain and just the regular water dish in their cage. They drink significantly more water out of their water fountain. The reason animals are more drawn to water from water fountains is just because the water is moving. Their natural instinct tells them that moving water means it is more likely fresh, just like water moving down a stream or a river is going to be more fresh, than still water, which has the chance of being contaminated or dirty or full of bad things that we don't want to eat. One of the reasons I got a water fountain when I first got mine was because I noticed that Luna and Alara were always doing this thing where before they drank out of their water dish, they would nudge it or try and push it over to get the water to move, and only at that point would they be willing to drink out of the water dish. Because I noticed them doing this so often, I decided to give a water fountain a try and see how they like it. And lo and behold, they enjoyed it quite a bit. Ever since then, I've had a water fountain and I'm really happy to have one, and I think that they are great, and ferret owners should definitely consider getting them. Like I said already, they do encourage ferrets to drink water naturally, but as well as that, they provide a little bit of enrichment for your ferrets, and they're a really great way for your ferrets to cool down on a hot day. I think they are especially good for ferret owners who feed their ferrets a dry diet of kibble, freeze-dried or air-dried food, because those foods are very dry, there's not a lot of natural moisture in them, and when it comes to ferrets, dehydration happens very quickly and it can be very detrimental to their health. So it's really important to make sure that your ferrets are always properly hydrated. But of course, with water fountains, there are some safety risks that we definitely need to talk about before you guys are ready to run out to the pet store and commit to buying a water fountain for your ferrets. Nova is falling asleep in my arms. It is important to me that you guys know that. Good night, sweet summer child. The biggest safety warning for water fountains is that you should absolutely only have water fountains set up in a place that you are going to be monitoring your ferrets. So definitely don't put a water fountain in your ferret's cage. And if you're someone who has a ferret room that your ferrets normally free roam in while you aren't around, make sure that you don't put it in there either, because you're not going to be there to supervise them all the time. Every type of water fountain is going to have a wire connected to it, which is very dangerous for unsupervised ferrets, and you don't want them to chew on that when you're not around. If you have a filter in your water fountain, you definitely need to make sure that you are changing that filter out monthly so that there's no bacteria that builds up on it. And at least once a week, I do recommend giving your fountain a little bit of a clean just to make sure it's nice and sparkly and all the water in it is beautifully fresh. I obviously don't know every single type of pet water fountain that there is out there, and I'm sure that there are some that aren't safe for ferrets. Maybe they have bigger bowls and they pose a drowning risk or something like that. The one I'm going to be using today and the one that I like for my ferrets is one that I believe to be pretty much the safest one that I've seen on the market, so I recommend just getting that one because it's also one of the cheaper ones out there. So, you know, safe and cheap. We like that. And my last safety warning is that you need to ferret-proof water fountains. Every single brand I've ever seen, including the one that we're going with today, does need to be ferret-proofed because ferrets are little except for you, Nova. You're perfect. Without further ado, I think it's time for me to introduce you guys to the water fountain that we're going to be using. This is the Cat-It Mini. It is my favorite water fountain. I had one before for my ferrets, but I lost it in the move, and now I have another one. It's right here. I like this fountain because it's cheap and it's simple, and it's very easy to ferret-proof, which I'm going to prove today. But first, guys, let's do a little bit of unboxing here. Oh, here's our beautiful instruction manual, which we don't need. Okay, I know what I'm doing here. And now we have our beautiful fountain. The fountain comes with a couple different things packed beautifully inside this lovely box here. We have a little flower for the top, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, a filter. It's also got the handy dandy little air pump and a little USB connector plug to plug it into the wall because it needs power in order to run. The first very important thing for you to do when you unbox your water fountain is to wash it. So I'm gonna go and really quickly wash everything, and then I will be right back when it's clean. She's now sparkly clean. Absolutely no microplastic particle dust in sight. Before we can use this with our ferrets, like I said, I need to ferret-proof it. When I got my first Cat water fountain, the biggest problem I found with it was that my ferrets like to bite onto the edge and drag it across the floor and try to stash it somewhere. Obviously, that's not something that they can do, and it just resulted in a whole bunch of water constantly being all over my floor. Didn't really love that. So, a couple months later, I figured out the most solution. And not only is it's also really cheap. This is a loose kitchen tile. It cost me $0 because I went to the hardware store and I lied to them about redoing my kitchen and needing a sample tile. The most important part of ferret-proofing a water fountain is making it so that they cannot move it. So what I do is I super glue it to a tile. And that's 99% of the ferret proofing done. So I'm gonna go glue these two pieces together, and then I'm gonna let that sit for a couple hours, and then we're gonna be back and I'm gonna show you how to ferret proof the rest of it so that we can have beautifully hydrated ferrets that just have a good time with the water fountain. It's gonna be wonderful. And we're back. This is the corner that I choose to normally keep my water fountain in, because if I don't put it here, then they poop in this corner. And I already normally have a litter box right there. I don't want two litter boxes, that would bother me. So instead, make it a lovely place for them to drink some refreshing H2O. It's stuck. The glue did its job. And now we're gonna set it up. I don't use the little flower on this. The last time I had this fountain, my ferrets liked to just bite the flower and take it and stash it places, and then it got water all over the floor. So I've decided that the flower is not for my ferrets. Maybe your ferrets are a little more well-behaved than mine, but it's not a thing for my girls, so goodbye, flower. Now there is a little more ferret proofing that goes into this fountain than just the tile. I do duct tape the wire to the fountain, both to the side of the fountain and to the tile. And then I use some painter's tape for the first little bit of the wire going up the wall. Nova's pretty keen on chewing wires, so I just have to be really careful with her in them, and this seems to work for me. I've also got little wire clips that attach to the wall, and those help keep the wire up. This setup might not work for every single ferret. I'm sure there are some that are going to be able to very easily pull the tile like this around, but it works for my girls, so hopefully there are still a couple people who this will work for as well. When you first put your water fountain down for your ferrets, they are very likely going to spend a lot of time digging in it and making a complete mess of everything. It's pretty much a new toy for them, so they're very excited to play in it. My girls are always super excited to do that. But in my experience, I noticed that after a couple days of doing that, they get kind of bored of it, and then the water fountain just becomes another thing for them to drink out of, and they aren't as crazy excited about digging in it anymore. They'll still do it every once in a while, but that's ferrets for you. They don't like to listen to you, and they don't like to behave. That's what it means to own ferrets. Well, hopefully this video was a little bit informative to you guys. If you don't have a water fountain and you're curious of getting one, once again, I strongly recommend the Cat Flower Mini Fountain. It works really well, and it's not super expensive, and it's really easy to set up. I just followed the instructions, and I managed to do it. So if I can do it, quite literally anyone else can. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because by doing all of those things, you too can become a citizen of the friendly neighborhood. I will see you guys next week when I do something. I'm not quite sure what yet, because I don't plan that far ahead. Goodbye! And just in case you were wondering, no, the thumbnail isn't photoshopped. I'm just really good at balancing things on my head. I don't know. Random skill that'll never come in handy in my lifetime, but it's under my belt, I guess. Okay, bye.